It's the most important system on your vehicle, but many people leave it untouched until it fails. It's your brake system, and when your brake pads wear out, Supercheap Auto has all the parts and tools you need to change the pads yourself. Here's how it's done. For the do-it-yourselfer, this job is best performed one wheel at a time. The pads on both left and right wheels must be changed at the same time, but it's not necessary to change the front and rear all at once. Begin by loosening the lug nuts, raising the wheel off the ground, placing an axle stand for an element of safety, and removing the wheel. The caliper is the next part to be removed, and the bolts for this are tucked away on the back of the caliper. Don't get this confused with the bolts for the caliper mounting bracket, which needs to stay in place for this job. With the bolts removed, the caliper will slide away from the rotor and pads with only the brake hose connecting it to the vehicle. Do not remove this hose if you wish to avoid bleeding the brakes. With that out of the way, it's time to focus on the pads. These are held in place by the mounting bracket and can be slid out quite easily. Pay attention to the way they come out and look for any backing plates on the old pads, which may not be present on the new set. These will need to be switched over. It's a good idea to inspect the rotors for any sign of heat damage or excessive scoring at this point. To prevent brake squeal, a special anti-squeal compound can be applied between the backing plates, new pads, and caliper piston. Now the new pads can be slotted into position against the rotor, but you'll notice that the caliper no longer slides over them. This happens because the old brake pads wear down. The piston moves inward to fill the space. That's where tools like the Tool Pro disc brake spreader and brake adjustment tool come in handy. Both of these tools are designed to push the piston back into the caliper, making it easy to slip over your new brake pads. Pressing the piston inwards will force fluid back up into the reservoir, so before winding the tensioner on the disc brake spreader or adjustment tool, check the fluid level in the reservoir and remove some fluid with a suction gun if necessary. In some instances, the design of your caliper may make compressing the piston tricky, as is often the case with twin piston designs. A simple trick is to try placing one of the old brake pads against the piston for an even surface to push against. With the caliper in place, torque the bolts according to the workshop manual for your vehicle. Grab a can of brake cleaner and give both the front and back of the brake rotor a spray and wipe over with a clean rag, and then replace the wheel. Repeat the entire process exactly the same for the opposite wheel, and you're done. Before calling the job complete, don't forget to pump the brake pedal until it's firm. This moves the piston into contact with the new brake pads. Top up the brake fluid reservoir if necessary, and test the brakes at low speed before driving your vehicle.